Mo takes the checkered flag, but not without controversy. From orange juice to an outraged race team, one of the greatest 500s ever. You'll see it all here next.
The race leaves some partiers with a bad hangover and a night in jail.
Mother Nature waits for the checkered flag, but when the clouds rolled in, they brought with them nasty weather.
Plus, the rest of the day's news next on 6.
You're watching WRTV-6 Indianapolis, making a difference for Indiana. This is WRTV-6 News with Clyde Lee, Diane Willis, weather with meteorologist Bob McLean, and Ed Sorensen on sports. Now, live WRTV-6 News.
Here comes Fittipaldi, Emerson Fittipaldi. The final turn for home, the checkered flag, and Emerson Fittipaldi has won his second Indianapolis 500.
It had everything: drama, close calls, close finish, record number of lead changes. What a 500, one of the greatest ever. Mo takes the flag, Ari just behind in second, rookie Nigel Mansell third. Here's what we'll have for you, and with a wrap-up of the race later in Sports Nuts. Also, we'll see what's left behind at the track tonight, and partiers, some are behind bars. We'll show you how the vendors made out, too, and we'll take you on a ride in a blimp. Good evening to you. It was a race run slower, run safer, closer, and more competitively than nearly all the rest.
It was also a race that ended in controversy. A protest by driver Raul Boisel and team owner Dick Simon. Boisel, who led early, was assessed 2 stop-and-go penalties for passing under yellow and entering the pits while they were closed to traffic. But tonight, the governing body, USAC, the United States Auto Club, officially declared Emerson Fittipaldi the winner.
I was careful about it. The second stop and go, I was already coming to the pits on the yellow cam. I have no choice if not coming to the pits. And they penalized me twice. So this race, in my mind, is mine.
Now, the first thing Mo did when he got out of his car was to break a Speedway tradition.
He didn't take the traditional sip of milk right at the end of the race.
In fact, he pushed it aside not once, you'll see, but twice. It's the first time in 60 years the 500 winner has not sipped from a bottle of milk in victory lane.
Well, I'm going to drink the orange juice. That's my production, and I'm going to have this time orange juice. I produce orange juice.
But Mo apparently had some second thoughts and took a swig of the winner's milk a little bit later on.
Right. Well, many race fans have turned this entire weekend into a celebration that surrounds, of course, the centerpiece, the 500 race itself.
And that means there's more involved there than simply the race itself. You've seen it for yourself, probably, all the parties that go on all around the track.
And all the around the hours of the clock. Deborah Darnell joins us live now from Speedway, where we are finally seeing a quieter scene, kind of unusual for the month of May in Speedway. Deborah?
Well, Dion, it certainly is, especially if you know what was going on here on West 16th Street last night. Certainly a lot different here, much quieter. The track behind me is dark, but only a few hours ago, you still had plenty of activity here. Many fans didn't want to go home. As a matter of fact, there are plenty still parked in their RVs and tents in parking lots throughout this stretch of road. And earlier today, we found plenty of fans who found it hard to head home from the track. They were still bungee jumping long after the last car ran the last lap, and fans were still wandering 16th Street looking for the last good deal on Speedway souvenirs.
No, you don't want to leave this place. It's just too happening.
Even after it's all over.
That's right. It's really exciting to see the locals and everybody still getting into it. They're still buying a lot of shirts and seem to still be really excited about it.
With so many still hanging around the Speedway, you'd think police would get impatient. But it turns out the police sound relieved to get through the day without much trouble.
It's been exceptionally good today. We haven't had any problems, a few minor scuffles. Other than that, traffic's moved real well. People have been very cooperative. It's been very enjoyable today.
As the sun started setting, the scene on the street started changing. But all that positive talk about a good weekend continued.
It's been great. I think it's good because it's our 10th year out here. We've been in the same location for 10 years, so, you know, we put a building on it, and it pays off.
There's even a few who don't care much about the race, but still make their way to 16th Street one more time. You just come here for the food?
Yeah. That's right.
You didn't see the race?
No. We park cars. We live on 15th.
And, of course, those people who live along 15th Street, 16th, will wake up tomorrow morning and see quite a mess out here. Clyde and Diane, that's natural. But I should say they started cleaning up at least some of the areas only a few hours after the race. The street crews were out, and we found people starting to pick up the cans. So slowly but surely they'll get done.
Especially tomorrow when it really gets the work gets underway.
Right.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
Deborah.
Deb. Well, some who came for the race didn't get to see it.
Now, that includes those who are now behind bars in the Indianapolis lockup this evening. Friends and family of those arrested waited for hours at police headquarters. Hundreds were inside the lockup itself, waiting for the paperwork to be completed first. Some of them spent the night inside. Of course, they would miss the race, and so did those who came downtown to post bond and to offer some help.
All my friends came up here, and I didn't get to come, but one of them got put in jail. Nobody knew it, so now I'm here to pick him up. It's been waiting since about 4 or 5 o'clock, and he still ain't out.
There were fewer arrests than usual, but many of the arrests were for disorderly conduct and public intoxication.
Well, the drivers are the true stars of the race, but other big names flocked here during the month of May. Before the engine started, comedian Jay Leno, you saw him a second ago. Not the only celebrity in town, though. Perennial race fan Jim Gardner was here, too. Larry Bird there, in for a pace car lap around the track.
Well, more than a spectacle, the 500 also is a multi-million-dollar business, and not all the money is being made inside the track.
Greg Todd reports that vendors from all over the nation set up outside the track with visions of dollar signs in their eyes.
Unbelievable racing. The leader is going into turn number 1 once again. They work off that second corner. Head down the backstretch. It looks like
The action is inside the track, but all along 16th Street, Free Enterprise is creating a spectacle of its own as thousands and thousands of dollars change hands.
Yeah, this is what we call taking our display down and just selling out the walls, right?
Even during the race, business was brisk enough outside the speedway that vendors had trouble keeping track of who was leading.
It's terrible to have to interrupt the race to deal with business. Absolutely horrible.
Others aren't so lucky, finding that there's less money to be made here than they hoped.
You know, you're not going to make $1 million doing that.
I think it's been down a little bit, not as good as we might have expected.
After buying inventory, vending permits, and insurance, these vendors pay anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 to property owners to just set up on a piece of their land.
Is it worth it?
Well, we'll tell you that after tomorrow.
There's a good chance he'll like the results because many vendors make more in the hours after the race than they made all weekend. Sales veterans here call it the blow-off.
Hoping that people that came by earlier were saying, like, we're going to wait till we get back from the racetrack. So that's usually what happens. They don't want to carry a lot of stuff in, you know.
Making for a successful day along 16th Street, even for a disappointed Mario Andretti fan.
coming up. He is fourth now, but gaining. And it's Mario Andretti.
Oh, my boy's not going to win.
Here he comes.
But there's always next year, and we'll all do it again. Outside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Greg Todd, 6 News.
Regardless of sales, it looks like they had a good time listening anyway. Well, you saw lots of logos on the merchandise. What was the most popular item selling? Anything that says Indy or 500 on it.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah. Well, the rest of the day's news coming up, but first, more from the track.
We'll have another view of the Indy 500. I'm Dave James with a report looking down from the Family Channel Bloom.
And I'm meteorologist Bob McLean. Well, we got the parade in, we got the race in. Now what about that forecast for your Memorial Day picnic or golf game? We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
And later, find out how 6 bundles of joy spent race day in Indy.
It's always a good time to buy a case of Pennzoil. Now is a greater time because you can get up to $4 off on any other automotive product. Pennzoil owes you one for making them America's #1 selling motor oil. So go buy a case and save up to $4 on any other automotive